Okay, so for today, we're going to be solving linear equations. So our first one is one-step equation. So for one-step equations, what that means is that it's only going to take one step to solve this equation. So if we look at this first one, 13x, when the 13 and the x are side by side like that, that means that they are multiplying with each other. So in order for us to cancel out that 13, we're going to have to do the opposite of multiplication, which is divide, okay? But you can't only divide one side, you also have to divide the other side. So if we do 13 divided by 13, it cancels out, and we're left with x equals, and then 52 divided by 13 gives us 4. Okay. And it only takes one step to solve this. So if we look at the next one, it says negative 5x equals 30. So it's similar. We're going to have to divide. We're going to do opposite and divide. And not only do we have to divide by the 5, but we also have to divide by the negative. That way the two negatives make a positive. And then 5 divided by 5 also cancels each other out, and that gives us x equals. And remember, what you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side of the equal sign. So 30 divided by 5 gives you 6. All right, the next one, number 3. So this time we have a fraction in front of the x. So it's 5 halves times x equals negative 5. So in order for us to cancel out this fraction, it is being multiplied with the x, but in order for us to cancel it out, we're going to have to multiply by what we call the reciprocal. Okay, so we're going to flip the fraction. So instead of being 5 over 2, we're going to multiply it by 2 over 5. But what you do to one side of the equal sign, you also have to do to the other side of the equal sign. Okay, so the 2's cancel each other out, the 5's cancel each other out because you have one on top and one on bottom. And we're left with x on this side. And then on the right side, we have negative 5 times 2/5. So the way that you multiply this is you do negative 5 times 2, which is negative 10. And then you leave the 5 on the bottom. Okay. Then we have x equals negative 10 over 5, which is our solution, but our solution is not simplified. So 10/5, if we simplify that, that is going to give us negative 2. Okay. Number 4. So on here we have negative 2/3 times x equals 6. So in order for us to solve for x, we are going to multiply by what we call the reciprocal. So 3 over 2. Okay, but because there's a negative there in the front, we can't just multiply by 3 over 2. We have to multiply by negative 3 over 2. So what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. Okay. And so on this side, 2 negatives make a positive. The 3's cancel each other out because you have one on top and one on bottom. The 2's cancel each other out, so all we're left with is x equals. And then we're going to multiply this. So 6 times negative 3 is going to give us negative 18. And it's over 2.
Good morning.
Sorry.
Can I please have all 8, can I please have all 8 meet in the comments area? All 8 instructional aides on campus, please meet in the comments area. Thank you.
Okay, so now you're going to take negative 18 and divide it by 2, and that is going to give us negative 9. It really makes you feel like school when you guys have those interruptions on the intercom. Okay, so this is our solution. All right, number 5. This time we have x divided by 2. Okay, so on this one, in order for us to solve for x, we are going to multiply instead of, because it's x divided by 2, the opposite is multiply. We're going to have to multiply both sides by 2. So here the 2's cancel out, and we're left with x equals negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. All right, the next one, negative x over 3. So in order for us to solve for x, we're going to have to multiply by 3. Sorry. Okay, but not just 3, we also need to get rid of that negative. So we're going to multiply both sides by negative 3. Okay, so here the 2 negatives would make a positive. 3 divided by 3 cancels out, and we're just left with the x equals 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. All right, now we're going into two-step equations. So two-step equations is when it takes 2 steps to solve the equation. So here we have 3x plus 5 equals 17. All right, So we have this 3 that we need to cancel out right here with the x, and we also have this plus 5 that we cancel out with the x. So when we are doing this, we need to start with the plus 5. So in order for us to cancel out that plus 5, we are going to do the opposite and subtract 5. And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side of the equal sign. So here, 5 minus 5 cancels, and we're left with 3x equals 17 minus 5 is negative, not negative, sorry, it's 12. And then we're going to go ahead and divide both sides by 3. And we get x equals 4. Okay, so this is a two-step equation because first we had to subtract the 5, and then second we had to divide by 3. So those are your two-step equations. Okay, so let's look at the next one. We have 8x minus 18. So we're going to have to go ahead and add 18 to both sides. And we get 8x equals 30 plus 18 is going to give us 48. Okay, so that's the first step. The second step is to get rid of this 8 in front of the x. So we're going to have to divide both sides by 8. And we get x equals 48 divided by 8 gives us 6. All right, the next one, number 9. It says 1/2 x minus 12 equals 4. So in order for us to solve for x, we need to first get rid of this minus 12 by adding 12. What you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side of the equal sign. We get 1/2 x equals 4 plus 12 is going to give us 16. Okay, so there's step 1. Step 2 is to get rid of this fraction that is in front of the x. So we're going to have to multiply it by what we call the reciprocal. So we go ahead and flip the fraction over and multiply by 2 over 1. But what you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side of the equal sign. So here the 2's cancel out, the 1's cancel out, and we get x equals, and then we're going to multiply 16 times 2 gives us 32, and this is over 1. Okay, 32 divided by 1 is 32. All right, the next part, distribution. So distribution, we are going to have to distribute a number, okay? So for example, on the first one, we have this 4 in front of the parentheses, and then it's going to be x plus 5. So we have to distribute this 4 and multiply it times x and multiply it times the 5. Okay, so we're going to do 4x, and then 4 times 5 is going to give us 20, and it's plus 20 because of that plus sign that's right there. This is equal to 8. Okay. Now that we distributed, now we're down to our two-step equation. So we're going to solve for x by subtracting 20. And we get 4x equals 8 minus 20 gives us negative 12. And divide both sides by 4. And we get x equals negative 12 divided by 4 gives us negative 3. The next one, here we have 6 times 2x minus 2. And then minus 2x plus 4. So we are going to have to distribute the 6 to the 2 and 6 to the negative 2. Okay, you do not multiply the 6 times this negative 2x because the negative 2x is not in the parentheses. So you only multiply what is inside the parentheses. So 6 times 2x is going to give us 12x. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. And then I'm just going to write down the rest that's on here. So minus 2x plus 4 equals 22. Okay. Then your next step is going to be to combine like terms. So we have two sets of like terms. We have this 12x and this negative 2x. And together, that is going to give us 10x. 12 minus 2 gives you 10. Okay. Our next set of like terms is going to be negative 12 and positive 4. So negative 12 plus 4 is going to give us negative 8. Okay. And all of this is equal to 22. All right, so once we combine our like terms, we are going to start solving for x. So we're going to get rid of this minus 8 and move it to the other side. So plus 8 is canceled out. And we get 10x, 22 plus 8 gives us 30. All Our last step to solve for x is to divide by 10. Run out of space a little bit. So 30 divided by 10 gives us 3. All right, the next one. So here we have -2 times 3x plus 4. So we are going to have to distribute this to -2 to the 3x and the -2 times the 4. So -2 times 3x is going to give us -6x. -2 times a positive 4 is going to give us a -8. So we have to write it as -8. Okay. Once we distribute that 2, we just recopy everything that was on there. -6x minus 4 equals 36. Okay. Now we start combining like terms. So our like terms here are -6x and -6x together. It is going to give us -12x. Okay. Then we have -8 and -4 are also like terms. So when we combine those two, -8 and -4, it's like you owe somebody $8 and you owe somebody else $4. That means you owe a total of, wrong color, sorry. You owe a total of $12. Okay, so that's the way I think of it when I'm doing negatives. I think of it as money that I owe somebody. It makes it a little bit easier for us to add and subtract in our heads that way. Okay, so then from there, we're going to go ahead and solve for x. So this -12, we're going to add it to both sides. This cancels out. We get -12x equals 36 plus 12 is going to give us 48. And then our last step to solve for x, we are going to divide both sides by -12. Okay, so these two negatives make a positive. The 12s cancel out. We get x equals 48 divided by -12 is -4. All right, so now we're going into 3-step equations. So what makes us different from the other problems is that we have x's on both sides. Okay, so we are going to start solving for x. So what we're going to do first is we're going to get the x's on the same side of the equal sign. So this 16x, I'm going to move it over to the left side by subtracting it. Okay, what you do to one side, you do to the other side. Sorry, it's just little things that bother me. Okay, so then from there, we're going to go ahead and do 6. -2 minus 16 is going to give us -18x, and then these cancel each other out. And then here we have plus 16, so it's going to equal to 16. Okay, you don't have to write the plus in the front, you just keep it as a positive 16. Okay, next, we are trying to get the x by itself, so we need to get rid of this 6 here. So we are going to subtract the 6 on both sides. So here we have -18x equals, okay, we write the negative because of the minus sign up there in the front. 16 minus 6 is 10. Then our next step to solve for x is to get rid of this -18, and we're going to do that by dividing both sides by -18. These 18s cancel out. The two negatives make a positive, so here we have a positive x, and then 10 divided by -18. Now we can simplify it. We can't divide them, but we can simplify that as a fraction. So you can divide 10 by 2, and that gives you 5. And you can divide 18 by 2, and that gives us 9. So it's -5 over 9. Okay. The next one. So here we have 5x minus 4 equals 2x plus 6. So we're going to get the x's on the same side. So we're going to subtract the 2x on both sides. This cancels out. 5 minus 2x gives us 3x minus 4 equals 6. Then our next step is to move this 4 over to the other side. So plus 4, 3x equals 10. And then our last step to solve for x is to divide both sides by 3. And we get x equals 10 over 3. And that we cannot simplify, so it's going to stay like that. All right, and the last example like this, we're gonna go ahead and take 3x plus 4 equal to negative 5 plus 36. So we're gonna move the 5x to the other side, and because it's negative, to cancel it out on that side, we're gonna have to add a positive 5x. So these 5x's cancel out, 3x plus 5x equals 8x, plus 4 equals 36. Then our next step to solve for x is to move this 4 to the other side by subtracting 4. And we will get 8x equals 36 minus 4 is 32. And to get rid of that 8, we're going to divide both sides by 8. And we get x equals 32 divided by 8 is 4. All right. The next and the final section is fractional equations. So this 1/4 that's in the front is going to make this a fractional equation. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that fraction in the front. So if we see this as 1/4, I know you guys don't like working with fractions, so we're going to get rid of it. So to cancel that 4 on the bottom, we're going to have to multiply it by 4. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to have to multiply this 4 times the 1/4, and that gives us 1. Okay? Because the 4's cancel each other out. And then we have x plus 5. Now you don't need to distribute that because the 1 will get distributed in a little bit. Okay? But you do have to multiply this 4 times the part on the other side of the equal sign. So 4 times 8 gives us 32. Okay? So then next from here, we distribute this 1 to each term, and that gives us x plus 5. 1 times x is x, and 1 times 5 is 5, is equal to 32. And then our last step is to subtract the 5 on both sides, and we get x equals 32 minus 5 is 27. All right, the next one. 1/3 x minus 1 equals 12. So on here, we're going to have to go ahead and get rid of that fraction, the 1/3 fraction. So in order for us to cancel out that 3 on the bottom, we're going to have to multiply it by 3. Okay, so we're going to distribute this 3 to this one. So 3 times 1 is 3, divided by 3 is 1. Okay, remember, you don't have to multiply it times the x minus 1, but you do have to multiply it times that 12 on this side. So 3 times 12 gives us 36. We distribute this 1 to each term, and we get x minus 1 equals 36. Then our last step to solve for x is to add the 1. So 36 plus 1 is 37. And the last example. So here we have 4 equals 4/3 2x minus 1. So it does look a little bit different than the first problem because it's kind of switched around on the equal sign. So we're still going to solve it the same way, but this time, in order for us to cancel out this fraction right here, we are going to have to multiply times the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply times 3/4. Okay, so we're going to have to multiply it. When we distribute it to this one, everything ends up canceling out, and we're just left with 1 times 2x minus 1. Okay, now when we multiply it times this number here, the 4, you do 4 times 3 gives you 12, and then it'll be 12/4. Okay, so 12 divided by 4 gives you 3 equals, we distribute the 1 to each one. So that gives you 1 times 2x is 2x, 1 times -1 is -1. And then our last step to solve for x, we add the 1 on both sides. And 3 plus 1 gives you 4 equals 2x. And our last step to solve for x is to divide both sides by 2. Okay, this cancels out. 4 divided by 2 is 2, is equal to x. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at your assignment real quick on Delta Math. So if we look at Delta Math, you will have your equations review. And as you can see, I kind of tried some problems already on here. the one-step equations is just like our notes page where we have it one-step equations. So if you need to refer back to this to help you out and remember how you solved one-step equations, you can go ahead and look back on that. And so everything is set up like that. I think you guys should be good for this one. You just click each section and it'll give you 2 problems from that section. You need to get 2 problems correct in order to be complete, and you will go back and then do the next one, 2-step equations, and so on. Okay, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment or go ahead and contact me. Thank you. Bye.